Is it better to invest as a lump sum or as a monthly amount? That's going to be the topic of today's video. Now, many people who are new to investing, especially if they have a reasonably sized lump sum, are worried about putting it all in one go. But the question is, in that situation, if you've got a relatively big sized lump sum, is it better to put it in one go or every single month for say 5 or 10 years? Now, studies that have been done on this have concluded that a lump sum beats dollar cost averaging on about 66% of occasions. Dollar cost averaging is just a fancy way of saying investing every single month. And there's a simple reason for this. Markets long term do go up. If you look at the S&P 500, the Dow Jones, and many other markets, they do go up long term, and especially adjusted for dividend reinvestment. People forget that even the Japanese Nikkei, which basically is still down on the very peak, is actually now up if you just reinvested the dividends, because the Nikkei was at 38,000. This year it's been at about 29, 30,000, but of course it's paid dividends every year for 30 years. So those two reasons, or let's say one reason the markets go up long term, but especially if you reinvest dividends, are the main reason it's usually better to put in a lump sum. However, if your investment time horizon is only 5 or 10 years, it's more likely, at least slightly more likely, that monthly investing will work out. Because, for example, from 2000 until 2010, the US stock markets were completely stagnant. That meant that if you had a monthly amount to put in every single month, you would have made more money than just putting in a lump sum on January the 1st, 2000, because you would have taken advantage of those lower prices in the market, whereas on most 10-year periods, you would make more from the lump sum, of course, because the markets usually go up. So it really just depends on many factors, like how long you plan to invest for. But if you're willing to invest for 25, 30, 35 years, if you're young or relatively young, you're more likely to win with a lump sum. And anyway, let's face it, all of us have to dollar cost average to a certain extent, because none of us can go to our boss or our customers if we own our own business and say, oh, would you kind of just give me all the money up front for my 30, 40 years of working? We all get paid a salary or business earnings, right? So everyone has to always add fresh money. There's only maybe 0.1% of people who in reality get a one-off inheritance and they can never afford to invest again. Most of us do have to put in at regular intervals, regardless of whether that's monthly or yearly. So realistically, if you're watching this video and you have a decently sized lump sum, let's face it though, you're probably going to have another lump sum in the future, or for that matter, you could afford to put in 500 a month or whatever you can afford to put in. So it's also not a neither or. You can put in a lump sum, of course, and do a monthly investment on the side and just keep adding to the account. How can I help you? In two ways. First of all, are you an expat, a high net wealth individual, or just somebody who lives in a part of the world where it's difficult to get access to quality investment solutions? In which case, go onto my website on adamfayed.com and find out more. If you don't fit into any of those categories, then in which case there's a range of free material on my website, on this YouTube channel, and indeed on my Quora, where I get over 200 or have received over 231 million views in the last few years. And finally, if you want to actually read my thoughts in more detail, go onto Amazon and find my book on there.